Okay, today I'm doing yet another building video of the racing mower. Today I'm going to be installing the clutch that I've somewhat made so far. As you can see right here, you'll see how this washer is later on in the video, but I made the two little bolts out of this flat piece of steel to mount the idlers on, and a little hole there for it to pivot on. Right here, this is part of a mower deck part, like bracket. I have piles of these, which I'm going to be welding right here to allow something for that thing to pivot on, which I'll show in a minute after I finish tacking this here. Okay, see that right there should be plenty strong to hold this little clutch system setup I have here. See right here on this, there's already a hole that was pre-drilled on this when I got it, which I found bolting like right here after I weld a little bolt right here in a second. Okay, now I'm just welding this little bolt here, so I'll have something for my pulley to pivot on. You gotta make sure you have enough to go through it, this little hole here, and still have enough to thread on completely, so you don't have your clutch come undone on the trail or whatever you're doing. In this case, just a racing mower, so I'll probably just be going up and down the road. I packed with me. Okay, that's complete, so that should hold. Guess I have to test that now. Maybe wait till it cools down a little bit. Okay, as you see on this clutch I got going so far, I'm not completed with it yet because I still have to hook up this linkage right here, but that will be a little bit farther on in the video. But right here, so you see it can freely move back and forth. I eventually plan on greasing that thing when it cools down. I just don't want it smoking right now. But use for this washer here is for the spring. This is a stock spring, but it's still plenty strong to make this clutch where you're not going to get any slip. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mount right along here where I can still tension this and pull it as it goes, because more than likely it's going to be about this normal, like that way when the belt's actually tight, or like when the clutch is pulled in, but it should pull it down pretty far with this setup. It's the same how I run in my Murray right here, so and that thing's got a 20 horse opposed twin on it, and I can put in 5th gear and under some water, and it's going to shut off my engine before that belt slips. So it's pretty effective. Okay, here's the use for your stock pulley system. The only thing it's going to be really good for anymore. It's good to use for parts after this, because I end up using many parts from this. There you go. I cut off this tab on them to use on part of the tensioner, you'll see in a second. I can get it to start. Okay, that you're going to have back this little tab here, which you're going to be using over here for this. Just give it. Where is the part I need? So this right here is a little part I was looking for. It's the stock little tensioning thing, where this end normally hooks up to the spring, and just tighten this little 1/2-inch nut, and it pulls the spring tighter. I'm still going to end up using this on this mower, but I'm probably going to have to add a few washers to this to make the tension a little bit greater. So right now, to make this workable, I'm going to have to weld this onto the frame right here. So, find a good spot where it doesn't like it's going to mess with your shifting linkage, or that'll lead to more problems. And then you're going to want to have it about right past that. You're going to want to weld it right there. Both sides, this thing's gotta be pretty sturdy to hold up. That spring puts a huge amount where you have difficulty pulling it back by hand. Okay. Now you just have this little part here. You're gonna hook that up in that spring right there. It loops right in as it should. Put there your hold on. There's your belt tensioner, which you're gonna want to add a few washers because that's what's gonna want to pull it out of that belt. Slide this on for now. Okay. The next part I'm going to be working on is the little linkage to hook to this now. Stock clutch linkage still works along with it. What I'm about to do is end up adding a little tab that goes down here and should bend right under another hole, and then you have to weld a little small bolt sticking out from here to put through that hole, and then you're pretty much done with this clutch setup. It's quite simple. Okay, this is another piece that you're going to need to make. It's going to be different for different mowers, just depending on exactly what part of the bar you have your clutch mounted on, but this has to be bent down. This hole here is for the bolt I'm going to weld on top of this right here for to pull the clutch down, so it's got to put this on there and weld it at an angle so it can pull that thing back. So it shouldn't be too bad. It depends a little bit on each mower. You have to make them slightly different. So have it at an angle down right there and weld that. Burnt my finger a little bit. Okay, that should be plenty strong to hold right there. So now what I did right here is I completely made this linkage. All I have left to do right here is, so you can see this thing pivots back and forth a little bit. I can't do too much because I hooked it to the spring already. But this does pivot, and I got a little bolt on top of this, which aligns back here when this thing is done. As you might be able to see right there through that little hole, you can see the silver rod, which means just weld a bolt on top right there, and this clutch should be ready to go as soon as I buy some pulleys. Okay, here's another useful part of this clutch system is this sliding part right here. This is going to become part of the one of the adjustable tensioners. So you have this other linkage. Might end up using that for something, but then what you're going to want to do is just cut this thing off right here where you can have it overhanging, which I'll show in a minute. Okay, as you can see, there's like almost nothing left of this original pulley. I'm about done with this. Might cut off that for belt tensioner, but this thing is finally almost done. But here's the useful part I'm going to end up using. Right over here. Right here, I'm going to be putting this like right about like under here, where if you see this little notch here will be facing that way, so you can slide a pulley in and out, which will just to keep it off this back pulley that's on the ends. Okay, as you see, there's been a little bit of changes since like a few seconds ago. It's because I had to, as I put pulleys on, I noticed right in this area, this little bar here, it was contacting the pulley, so this thing had to be moved out more. It caused me to have to redo a good portion of this somewhat, but now this thing works perfectly well. I just gotta put some belt retainers on there, but very strong spring setup right there, and even the little parking brake thing on this mower still holds that thing down if you want. So I think it's pretty much done, and should have pointed that other little thing there is right here. There's a little pulley under, a little idler right here, and this is the tension to make the, dang, I can't even think of the belt tension a little bit better, depending if you have a new or old belt on there. So that should help quite a bit on there. Just, and all this stuff is just free stuff I found laying around. So pulleys are cheap to find. You can get these pulleys off just mower decks and such.